Imagine a professional athlete who, after, 10 years of competing, just decides they never need to practice again.
Right, they just show up on game day.
Yeah, they just show up, maybe stretch for a minute, and say, well, I've been doing this a decade, I'm good. You would laugh them right out of the stadium.
Oh, absolutely. Or think about a concert violinist who tells the conductor, hey, I know the basics. Rehearsals are pretty much optional for me now.
Right. It sounds completely absurd in those contexts, yet, and this is wild, this is exactly how a massive portion of sales professionals treat their careers.
It really is. We expect elite performers in, well, almost every other discipline to relentlessly hone their craft. But in the corporate world, the moment someone gets a few years under their belt, that dedicated practice just vanishes.
It just disappears.
Exactly. The assumption becomes that simply doing the job is, the exact same thing as practicing the job.
Welcome to today's deep dive. If you are a sales leader, a hiring manager, an executive, or just anyone tasked with driving serious revenue, this one is built specifically for you.
Yeah, we've got a really great one today.
We are unpacking this incredibly sharp article by Wynn Nathan Davis from the Sales Experts. It's provocatively titled, Why Most Salespeople Stop Practicing Too Soon.
Such a good title.
Right. And our mission today is to figure out exactly why sales teams abandon practice, how this creates these invisible blind spots that are actively costing you deals, and what commercial leaders can do to actually drive predictable sales success.
The stakes here are just enormous for any commercial leader. I mean, when you are managing a pipeline or, trying to generate new sales leads, you're operating on the assumption that your team is performing at their absolute peak capability.
You have to assume that, right?
You do. But the research highlighted in this article points out a really harsh reality. The highest performing salespeople, they never stop practicing, while the average performers almost always do.
Wow. And the author has this line in here that, it reframes this entire problem perfectly for me. He writes, many sales professionals don't have 10 years of experience. They have 1 year of experience repeated 10 times.
Oof. That distinction completely dismantles how we traditionally evaluate talent, doesn't it?
It really does, because, when a hiring manager looks at a resume, they see a decade in the field and naturally assume, okay, time in the seat automatically equals a higher level of skill.
Right. We treat experience and improvement as if they're synonyms, but they aren't. Experience just means you have been exposed to a situation repeatedly.
Just been there.
Exactly. You've just existed in that space. Improvement, on the other hand, requires this intentional, focused effort to extract a lesson from that situation, and this is key, change your future behavior.
Right, because without reflection, without coaching, without feedback, a rep isn't evolving. They were basically just surviving.
Just treading water.
But let me push back on that for a second, because the reality of the sales floor is a total grind.
Oh, for sure.
If a rep is in the trenches making, say, 50 cold calls a day or managing these highly complex sales leads every single week, they are building muscle memory. Doesn't that count for something?
I mean, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like you have to build up some kind of intuition just by the sheer volume of work.
Well, here's the catch with that. Muscle memory is completely agnostic.
Agnostic? How so?
It does not care if a habit is good or bad. It simply memorizes whatever behavior you repeat the most frequently.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, those reps in the trenches are absolutely building muscle memory. But if they are making 50 calls a day using a weak opening statement, or if they're unknowingly getting defensive the second a pricing objection comes up.
Then that muscle memory is actually working against them.
Exactly. They are structurally wiring ineffective behaviors directly into their brain.
They are essentially paving a dirt road into a superhighway of bad habits.
That's a great way to put it. And the longer those unchallenged habits remain in play, the deeper those neural pathways become, which means they are infinitely more difficult to unlearn later on.
Right.
This is why the assumption that, volume equals mastery is so dangerous in sales. Think about actors. They rehearse in an empty theater before stepping in front of a paying audience.
Right. They don't just wing it on opening night.
Exactly. But in sales, we somehow convinced ourselves that treating a live prospect as a practice dummy is the best way to develop talent.
It's crazy when you frame it like that. But wait, if that muscle memory is wiring in these bad habits, why don't the reps notice it happening?
What do you mean?
Well, when you're executing the same faulty discovery process 50 times a week, shouldn't you hear yourself making the same mistake and just, Course correct.
Well, it all comes down to cognitive load.
Okay, unpack that for me.
The environment where salespeople spend their time, the live customer interaction, is actually a terrible environment for learning.
A terrible environment.
Yes. When a rep is in a live conversation with a prospect, their working memory is entirely maxed out. They are managing the flow of the conversation. They're reading the prospect's
I'm
tone.
trying to remember the product features.
Right, trying to recall the battle card for a competitor that just got mentioned, and ultimately trying to advance the sales process. They're entirely locked into survival and execution mode.
You know, it sounds exactly like trying to fix your car's engine while you're driving 70 miles an hour down the highway.
Yes, that is the perfect analogy.
Like, you're far too busy trying not to crash into the median to figure out what's actually making that weird rattling noise under the hood.
Precisely. When you are focused solely on keeping the car on the road, you have absolutely zero bandwidth for experimentation.
You can't just pull over in your mind.
Right. You cannot pause a live, high-stakes negotiation with a major enterprise prospect and say, hold on a second, let me try a completely different discovery technique and see how you react to it.
Yeah, the prospect would look at you like you're insane.
Exactly. So you just default to whatever is most comfortable, which is usually whatever habit you've deeply ingrained, regardless of whether it's actually effective.
And because they can't hear that rattling engine, they develop what the article calls blind spots.
Yes.
And these aren't just like minor quirks. These are fundamental flaws in execution that remain completely invisible to the rep during the real interaction.
Right. Because everything is happening so fast in real time, it is nearly impossible for a human being to objectively evaluate their own performance while they are in the middle of performing.
You're just too in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We process the memory of that call through a highly subjective filter.
Yeah.
The rep remembers the conversation the way they felt, or, the way they wanted it to go, rather than the objective reality of what was actually said.
The examples the source gives of these blind spots are painfully relatable for anyone who has ever managed a team.
Oh, they really are.
Like, think about the reps who genuinely believe they are highly empathetic listeners. They pride themselves on building rapport.
Right? They think they're natural communicators.
Yeah. And then you sit them down in a one-on-one, you play the tape of their call, and they are forced to realize they are habitually interrupting the prospect every 15 seconds.
It's a tough pill to swallow. You also see it constantly with discovery calls.
Oh, how so?
Well, a rep will confidently claim they ask incredibly strong, probing questions. But when the transcript is reviewed, it becomes glaringly obvious that they aren't conducting discovery at all.
What are they doing instead?
The moment they hear a single keyword they recognize, they abandon curiosity and rapidly shift into pitching their product.
Oh, the premature pitch. It happens all the time. But my personal favorite, and I see this everywhere, is the rep who is completely convinced they are a master at objection handling.
Yes, the debate champions.
Right? They walk out of the conference room feeling victorious. But when you break down the interaction, they were really just defensively arguing for their solution instead of actually exploring the prospect's underlying business concern.
They walk away thinking they nailed the objection because they successfully got the last word in.
But getting the last word usually means you lost the deal.
Exactly. The prospect just shut down. And this is exactly why live selling cannot be the only arena for development. The live environment is entirely driven by the pressure of the outcome.
You have to create distance from that pressure.
You really do. Going back to your analogy, you have to pull the car off the highway, park it in a safe garage, and open the hood to analyze what is actually happening.
Okay, so let's walk into that garage. We've pulled the car over. How do we actually fix the engine? Because the article makes a very sharp distinction here. Just telling a rep to practice more isn't the solution.
No, not at all. Not all practice is created equal.
Right.
If leadership simply mandates that a rep go, make 50 more cold calls in an empty room or run through their full slide deck 3 times, you've increased their activity metrics. But you haven't guaranteed any actual development.
So what's the alternative? What actually drives elite performance?
The mechanism that drives elite performance is deliberate practice.
Walk us through the actual mechanics of deliberate practice then. How is it fundamentally different from what most reps think of when they hear the word role play?
Well, deliberate practice is about isolating specific individual skills. You don't practice the broad concept of selling.
Because it's too big.
Exactly. That is far too complex. It would be like a professional musician practicing an entire 45-minute symphony from start to finish, every single time they make a mistake in one specific four-bar measure.
You never actually fix the mistake, you just get tired.
Right. Deliberate practice means you isolate that single measure and you drill it. In a sales context, this means you don't role-play a 30-minute discovery call.
What do you do instead?
You intentionally spend your time exclusively on how to respond to the phrase, we just don't have the budget until Q3.
Oh, wow. So you break the massive, overwhelming act of a sales cycle down into microscopic component parts.
Yes, and you drill the individual parts until they are flawless.
Until it just becomes second nature.
You drill them until they achieve unconscious confidence. Let's look at the mechanism of how this works neurologically, because it's fascinating.
Please do.
When you isolate a skill, say the first 15 seconds of a cold call, and you practice it deliberately, you are utilizing cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloading.
Right. By making that specific phrasing second nature in the garage, your brain no longer has to expend processing power trying to remember the script when you get back on the highway.
That makes total sense.
In the live call, your working memory is entirely freed up to actually listen to the client's tone and nuance, because the delivery of your value proposition is already handled by your unconscious competence.
You know, that drastically changes the way we think about confidence on the sales floor.
It really does.
Because there is a massive misconception in this industry about where confidence actually comes from. Let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
The old adage in sales has always been, fake it till you make it.
Oh, I've heard that a million times.
Right. If you are a newer rep, or you're stepping up to a complex enterprise deal for the first time, don't you have to manufacture some of that bravado just to pick up the phone? Isn't manufactured confidence like a necessary survival mechanism?
Well, it might help you dial the phone once, but manufactured confidence completely crumbles the moment the prospect applies real pressure.
The moment they push back.
Exactly. The research in the article make it clear that fake it till you make it is fundamentally flawed advice for long-term sales success. Salespeople often assume confidence is just a personality trait or something generated by, positive thinking.
Pumping yourself up in the mirror before a call.
Right. But the reality is that true, unshakable confidence is predictive. It comes directly from competence and preparation.
Competence breeds the confidence.
Exactly. The source asks us to consider two different sales representatives approaching a high-stakes prospect meeting.
Okay, let's hear it.
Rep A has spent the last month relying entirely on live conversations. No structured practice, no isolation of skills, just winging it call after call, hoping their manufactured confidence carries them through.
Sounds stressful.
Very. Now, Rep B, however, has regularly role-played specific objections. They have refined their questioning techniques. They've received coaching and implemented feedback in a controlled environment.
I mean, it is entirely obvious who is going to command that room.
Rep B knows exactly how they are going to handle the inevitable pushback on implementation timelines because they have already successfully navigated that exact scenario 20 times in the garage.
Right. They aren't surprised by it.
No. Professionals who consistently invest in deliberate practice appear remarkably calm under pressure. They aren't relying on a spike of adrenaline or hoping the prospect goes easy on them. They are relying on tested, proven competence.
So if deliberate practice is this powerful, if it is the proven secret sauce across medicine, professional sports, music, and the absolute top tier of sales performers, why is it so rare?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because every sales leader listening knows the reality of a Friday afternoon. You're staring at pipeline reports, your reps are desperately logging CRM activities, everyone is just exhausted. The idea of pulling a quota-carrying rep off the phone to practice feels impossible.
The excuse of being busy is the biggest roadblock in modern corporate culture. Despite the undeniable proven benefits of deliberate practice, it gets pushed to the side because everyone feels entirely overwhelmed by the daily administrative and execution tasks.
We're all just too busy.
Right. But we have to look at where that busy time is actually being spent.
Well, management is usually obsessing over the forecast dashboard.
Exactly. The source points out a massive irony in modern sales management. We have endless dashboards, AI transcription, pipeline velocity metrics. Sales managers spend hours reviewing forecasts, and reps are bogged down making sure every single field in the CRM is updated.
We measure everything.
We do. We measure the rain, but we spend almost no time building a better umbrella.
Wow. We prioritize analyzing the results over improving the behaviors that actually create those results.
Precisely. Now, analysis certainly has value for business planning. But analysis does not drive improvement. Improvement requires action.
Right.
It is incredibly common for an organization to spend huge amounts of time dissecting a lost deal in a pipeline review, while investing absolutely zero time in coaching the rep on how to handle the objection that caused the deal to stall in the first place.
Which is wild when you think about it.
Staring at the scoreboard hoping the numbers change will never be as effective as coaching the players on the field.
And there is a real compounding commercial impact to this that leaders need to understand. We aren't just talking about making reps feel more comfortable. We are talking about exponential revenue growth.
Exponential, yes.
If deliberate practice improves a rep's questioning technique, that directly leads to stronger qualification. If they isolate and practice active listening, they develop a much deeper understanding of the customer's business case.
And those micro improvements cascade through the entire sales cycle. More effective objection handling directly increases progression rates from stage 2 to stage 3.
Sharper closing techniques generate more committed timelines.
Exactly. Individually, these seem like small behavioral tweaks. But when you compound a 5% improvement in conversion rates across 4 different stages of the sales process, the net revenue outcome isn't 5% higher, it is exponentially higher.
It's huge.
Top-performing organizations emphasize coaching because they know that pipeline quality is ultimately a byproduct of the quality of the conversations taking place every single day.
Okay, so how does that stressed out commercial leader actually implement this? Because the solution revealed by the sales experts is actually highly practical. It doesn't require shutting down the sales floor for a week-long boot camp.
No, not at all. Many organizations operate under the false assumption that effective training has to be a lengthy, exhausting, full-day seminar.
The classic off-site retreat.
Right. But human behavior doesn't change from a one-off event. Consistency is far more important than duration. The article emphasizes that short, consistent practice is what actually drives behavior change.
The magic number the source brings up is just 10 minutes a day.
Just 10 minutes. 10 focused minutes of daily micro-practice will produce significantly greater, more permanent improvement than a massive 2-hour training workshop that happens once a month and is forgotten by the following Tuesday.
It's so manageable.
In a 10-minute session, a professional can focus on just one single skill. They execute it, they receive immediate targeted feedback from a manager or peer, they make an adjustment, and crucially, they can immediately apply that specific lesson in their live conversations that very same day.
Over weeks, months, and years, those tiny, daily, 10-minute improvements accumulate into a massive, undeniable competitive advantage.
Absolutely. The best salespeople remain absolute students of their craft. Whether they are in month 6 of their career or year 20, they fundamentally understand that sales is a profession you must continuously develop, not just a series of tasks you perform.
And that mindset shift changes the entire culture of a sales floor. You stop treating sales as a numbers game of pure brute force activity, and you start treating it the way an elite athlete treats their sport.
You practice. You review the tape. You refine the mechanics. You improve.
The goal of a sales organization shouldn't just be to have more conversations. The goal must be to have significantly better conversations.
Well said.
Let's distill all of this down into the core actions. For the hiring managers, the executives, and the commercial leaders listening right now, here are your actionable takeaways from this deep dive to drive real sales success.
Let's hear them.
First, audit your team's experience. Take a hard, objective look at your senior reps. Are they actively improving their craft year over year? Or are they just repeating year one over and over again? Do they possess a decade of refined expertise, or have they just spent 10 years deeply ingraining bad habits?
Second, implement micro-practices. Stop relying on the grueling once-a-month training workshops. Swap that outdated modern for just 10 minutes of highly targeted daily role play. Isolate a single specific skill like how to pivot when a prospect mentions a competitor and drill it in the garage until it achieves unconscious competence.
And third, use the game tape. You have to expose those invisible blind spots. Have your team listen to their own live calls in a safe, low-pressure, one-on-one environment. Let them hear the objective reality of how often they interrupt or how quickly they abandon curiosity to start aggressively pitching features. You cannot fix the engine if you refuse to acknowledge what's rattling under the hood.
If you are an employer or a commercial leader looking to elevate your team and truly integrate a culture of deliberate practice, the team at the Sales Experts has an incredible proven track record. They specialize in helping clients build powerful, high-performing sales teams, boasting a 98% recruitment success rate.
You can dive much deeper into these specific strategies by visiting thesalesexperts.com. And while you are exploring the site, I highly recommend finding and subscribing to their Predictable Sales Growth newsletter on LinkedIn.
It's fantastic.
It joins a community of over 2,000 subscribers who receive weekly, actionable insights on sales leadership, strategic recruitment, and revenue growth. Again, that is thesalesexperts.com.
It is an invaluable resource for any leader serious about continuous development and building a resilient, top-tier commercial organization.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you look at your team's schedule for next week. Think back to that professional athlete from the beginning of our conversation, the one who arrogantly refused to practice because they felt they had put in enough time. Now, take a hard look at your sales floor. Are you measuring your team's dedication by the hours they spend talking to prospects? Or by the minutes they spend actually becoming worth listening to?
That is the definitive question every revenue leader eventually has to answer.
Thanks for joining us. Keep practicing, keep refining the mechanics, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.